Welcome to the Dinar Daily. If you are tuning in right now, it is likely because you have sensed that the atmosphere surrounding the financial landscape in 2025 feels distinctly different from previous years. There is a palpable shift occurring, something that is taking place behind the curtain of mainstream financial news. It is not being broadcast on the major cable networks, and you will not see it splashed across the front pages of traditional business journals. But for those who track global currency movements with a keen eye, the air is undeniably changing. We are diving deep today into one of the most persistent and intensifying conversations currently taking place within private investor circles. We are talking about the silent signals surrounding the Iraqi dinar and the Vietnamese dong. Signals that are not being advertised to the public, but are being whispered about in the corners of financial forums and investor chats. These quiet indicators are being pieced together by individuals who have made it their business to study currency patterns for a living. The reason we are addressing this today is to explore why these whispers are resurfacing with such vigor in 2025. We need to examine why the IQD and the VND are suddenly garnering a renewed level of scrutiny, and why so many observers believe that something significant is building beneath the surface of the global economy. Whether you have held these currencies for years, or you are simply a curious observer of international market shifts, it is crucial to understand the context of this moment. This breakdown is designed to help you comprehend why so many investors are currently on high alert, watching for movements that the rest of the world has yet to notice. When we engage in a discussion about the Iraqi dinar, we are discussing a currency that has been the subject of intense speculation and debate for well over a decade. Throughout the years, there have been countless dramatic predictions, most of which never came to fruition, leading to a natural degree of skepticism. However, what makes the landscape of 2025 interesting to veteran observers is not the presence of a sudden, loud announcement, but rather the accumulation of subtle activities. People are beginning to notice patterns that deviate from the norm. Observers are pointing out unusual chatter regarding banks updating their internal systems and institutions reviewing low-profile foreign currencies in ways that seem to break from their standard operating procedures. These observations often center on small but noticeable shifts in how regional markets are reacting to these specific currencies. While none of these individual events serve as a confirmation of major impending changes, they collectively raise eyebrows because such anomalies rarely occur without an underlying reason. This is why the community refers to them as silent signals. They are not loud enough to constitute an official stance, yet they are distinct enough that attentive investors feel they cannot simply ignore them. When such signals begin to manifest across multiple regions simultaneously, particularly involving a currency like the IQD, it inevitably sparks curiosity about whether a larger logistical framework is being prepared in the background. We must also consider the element of timing, as the year 2025 is already shaping up to be an unusual period for the global economy. Markets around the world are currently adapting to new energy developments, evolving international trade partnerships, and shifting financial strategies among major nations. History has shown that when global economic pressures rise, currencies that usually remain stagnant or quiet can sometimes begin to behave differently. Investors have reported a marked increase in speculation surrounding IQD discussions in private chat rooms, with a growing consensus suggesting that there are simply too many quiet updates happening all at once for the timing to be purely coincidental. It is important to reiterate that we are discussing speculation and pattern recognition, not confirmed institutional action. However, even speculation can be a valuable tool for revealing where investor attention is migrating. Some observers believe that banks may be refreshing their procedures for dealing with lesser traded foreign currencies simply as a matter of routine maintenance. Others, however, are convinced that these updates point toward a preparation for higher transaction volumes in the future. Whatever the true motivation behind these shifts, the timing has captured the undivided attention of those who have watched the dinar for many years, leading to a renewed sense of vigilance in the community. One of the most persistent rumors circulating in 2025 involves the back-end verification systems used by financial institutions. It is a known fact that banks and financial entities update their software and systems regularly. They perform audits, test new protocols, and prepare for regulatory changes as a standard part of doing business. None of that activity in isolation guarantees a currency shift. However, investors are connecting the dots by claiming that these current updates are happening specifically in areas tied to exotic currencies or low-activity banknotes. This specific focus is what has ignited the current wave of discussion. When multiple investors from entirely different geographic regions start mentioning similar system behaviors or banking interactions around the same time, it naturally creates a feedback loop of curiosity. People begin to wonder if these are merely routine tests to refresh old databases, or if there is a coordinated reason behind the scenes necessitating these updates. At this moment, no one has a definitive answer. Yet, when speculation heats up around assets like the IQD and VND, the narrative tends to spread rapidly among communities that track market movements with extreme attention to detail. This conversation naturally extends to the Vietnamese dong, a currency that is often overlooked in comparison to the dinar, but has been gaining significant traction in recent years. Vietnam's economy has been on a steady upward trajectory, attracting substantial foreign investment and cementing new international partnerships. As 2025 unfolds, those who watch currency trends have noticed unusual discussions regarding the dong in online financial spaces. These discussions are not driven by headline-worthy spikes or official government announcements, but rather by subtle conversations connecting movements in regional Asian markets with broader speculation about the VND future value. Some investors theorize that the dong is being quietly monitored more heavily now because Vietnam continues to expand its global industrial presence. Others claim that there is simply more conversation because people are naturally comparing it to the ongoing speculation surrounding the dinar, viewing them as potential parallel opportunities. Regardless of the driver, the VND is appearing more frequently in investor discussions than it has in the past. When two currencies with such long-standing speculative interest both become active topics of debate simultaneously, it compels observers to question whether a larger economic tide is lifting these boats together. A common question being asked is why these quiet signals are garnering so much attention right now. One valid explanation is that the global financial environment is undergoing rapid modernization in 2025. International trade agreements are being renegotiated, currency realignments are being discussed in economic summits, and digital banking improvements are being rolled out universally. When financial systems modernize, older or physical currencies sometimes receive unexpected attention simply because banks need to update the digital infrastructure that handles them. This technological necessity could explain much of the activity being observed. However, there are many who argue that there are too many overlapping hints this year to explain it all away as mere technological coincidence. They point to the increased activity in speculative forums, the rising volume of conversations regarding currency verification processes, and the quiet chatter suggesting that banks are reviewing their internal guidelines. While none of this confirms a major financial event, investor psychology is a powerful force. When enough small signals appear at the same time, the human mind begins to connect them into a cohesive story. In this case, that story is the possibility that the IQD and VND are entering a new phase of relevance. This brings us to what many in the community are calling the silent preparation phase. This phrase does not refer to any official government stance, but rather describes the collective feeling investors get when system updates and financial conversations seem to align in a way that suggests readiness. Some individuals claim that tellers at smaller financial institutions are asking new questions about certain currencies, or that online trading platforms are showing minor changes in how these currencies are categorized or displayed. Others believe that banks are refreshing internal guidelines related to foreign currency exchanges to ensure their staff is up to date. Whether these anecdotal claims are entirely accurate or slightly exaggerated is impossible to independently verify. But they contribute to a massive wave of speculation that something is transpiring beneath the surface. Investors who track these patterns insist that financial institutions rarely change procedures for niche assets unless they are preparing for a shift in how those assets are utilized in the near future. Skeptics, of course, maintain that such updates are regular occurrences, but the debate itself is driving interest. The rise of digital banking is another critical factor fueling the buzz in 2025. As banks upgrade their legacy systems to accommodate instant payments and blockchain integration, they often have to include lesser used currencies in the coding to avoid gaps in their software capabilities. This means currencies like the IQD and VND may appear in update notes or system logs simply because the platforms are being modernized, not necessarily because a value change is imminent. However, those following the speculation argue that the timing of these updates is what matters most. They argue that globally synchronized updates, where banks in different continents seem to be addressing the same issues, do not usually happen unless there is a deeper, coordinated reason. Whether or not that theory holds water, the perception of coordination becomes powerful in itself. Perception often fuels momentum in investor communities, and when people see repeated references to exotic currencies during a period of digital transition, they interpret it as a sign that these currencies might soon play a larger role. A major theme emerging from these discussions is the concept of readiness, not necessarily readiness for an official event, but personal organizational readiness. Many experienced investors believe that whenever a currency is being publicly discussed, whether through rumors or verified updates, it is prudent to have one's own house in order. This includes practical steps like keeping physical notes in good condition, knowing exactly where documentation is stored, and understanding the specific policies of your financial institution regarding foreign exchanges. Even if nothing major happens in the immediate future, being organized protects the holder from confusion, delays, and potential mistakes down the road. If activity were to increase, whether from market fluctuations or a surge in investor interest, those who are prepared are better positioned to act. This mindset does not rely on predicting the future. It relies on being proactive in the present. In 2025, a significant number of people watching the IQD and VND are adopting this administrative approach as a way to stay ahead of changing market dynamics without succumbing to emotional decision-making. A lingering question circulating right now is whether these subtle signals are coordinated or merely coincidental. It is impossible to say with certainty. Some investors suspect that certain banks in different countries are preparing quietly because they see potential changes coming in their specific regions. Others believe these updates are simply part of routine global banking maintenance that happens to be occurring simultaneously. But when two different currencies located in completely different parts of the world start generating similar discussions at the same time, it naturally sparks intense curiosity. People are wondering whether the signals are related to a single global economic shift, or whether distinct financial pressures are pushing both currencies into new conversations independently. Either explanation is plausible, But the important takeaway is that investors are paying closer attention in 2025 than they have in years. When attention increases, rumors grow, theories multiply, and speculation spreads. Even without confirmed information from central banks, the community becomes more engaged and more alert to every small shift in the narrative. We must also consider the role of investor psychology, which plays a massive role in why these silent signals feel so impactful. When people wait for years without seeing major changes, small movements suddenly appear more dramatic than they might otherwise be. A simple system update can feel like a hidden message to someone who has been waiting for a sign. A minor trading fluctuation can be interpreted as a major precursor to a shift. When dozens of people interpret these small movements in the same way, the narrative gains a life of its own. This collective observation builds momentum. In 2025, investors are more connected than ever before through digital channels. A quiet rumor in one country spreads globally in minutes. A screenshot of a banking screen circulates within hours. A whisper becomes a full conversation in less than a day. Consequently, the silence surrounding IQD and VND in official channels does not stop the speculation. In fact, it amplifies it. The lack of official denial or confirmation leaves a void that is quickly filled by community analysis and theory. What makes this year particularly intense is the volume of people claiming to see patterns in multiple locations. Some investors claim banks have been unusually attentive to verifying the authenticity of certain currencies. Others say they were asked more questions during routine exchanges than usual. Some mention that banking staff seem to be reviewing unfamiliar procedures or consulting manuals during transactions. None of these anecdotal experiences guarantee that a major event is coming, but they become part of the broader tapestry of discussion. People share their experiences online, others relate to them with similar stories, and from there the speculation grows into a consensus view that something is up. What we are witnessing in 2025 is a renewed cycle of curiosity. People are hungry for clarity, but the silence from official sources only fuels a deeper examination of every small detail. This cycle keeps the conversation alive and vibrant long after it would normally fade away in other financial sectors. Another significant point of discussion is the idea of global coordination. Many observers feel that if any currency were ever to experience major changes, not necessarily a revaluation, but adjustments, reforms, or market integration, it would likely be coordinated globally to avoid economic disruption. Because of that belief, people are paying close attention to the fact that certain conversations seem to be happening simultaneously in the US, Canada, parts of Europe, and the Middle East. They believe this coordinated timing is significant. Meanwhile, skeptics argue that global synchronization is simply a coincidence caused by the fact that all financial institutions tend to update their systems around the same time each fiscal year. Both sides make compelling arguments, and neither side can truly verify their claims without inside information. However, the discussion itself highlights just how much scrutiny the IQD and VND are receiving in 2025 compared to previous years. Regardless of whether official action is imminent, let us take a moment to focus on what experienced speculative investors always emphasize: personal preparation. They argue that even during periods of uncertainty, it is smart to stay organized. That means keeping your currency notes clean, safely stored, and easy to verify. It means knowing your bank's policies before you walk in the door. It means having all your identification ready so you aren't scrambling at the last minute if you ever need to conduct a transaction. Many investors view this level of preparation as a form of discipline. It is not a guarantee of a financial outcome, but rather a sign of professional readiness. They argue that the people who benefit from market changes are rarely the ones who wait passively, but the ones who stay alert and organized. In this sense, the buzz around the IQD and VND in 2025 is encouraging many people to adopt smarter financial habits, even if nothing major happens immediately. That mindset helps people stay grounded while remaining watchful. We must also touch on the emotional aspect of this investment, because for many holders, this journey has been long, confusing, and filled with ups and downs. Some people have been watching the IQD for years, even decades, and every small rumor feels like a spark of hope. Others have just recently joined the conversation and are trying to understand why there is so much debate and speculation surrounding these specific band notes. The emotional roller coaster is part of the reason why silent signals feel so powerful this year. People want updates, they want clarity, they want something that suggests movement is finally happening. When quiet signals appear in investor discussions, they feel meaningful because they break the monotony of the wait. However, emotions can cloud judgment. It is vital to stay balanced. Hope can be motivating, but staying informed, rational, and grounded is what helps people navigate speculative periods safely and intelligently. There is also a prevalent theme of institutional confidence as circulating in these discussions. Some investors believe that when financial institutions quietly test systems or update procedures related to exotic currencies, it signals a hidden confidence in future activity. They argue that profit-driven banks would not spend time or resources improving processes for currencies they do not expect to handle in significant volumes. This logic suggests that where the IT budget goes, the volume will follow. Others push back against this, stating that banks update everything regularly and that these updates have nothing to do with expectations of value change. They are simply maintenance. There is no clear answer here, but it is easy to see why people interpret these details differently. When the financial world is quiet, people fill in the gaps with their own theories. In 2025, there are a lot of gaps, which leads to a wide variety of interpretations regarding institutional intent. Let's dive deeper into why some people call this a period of silent buildup. It is because nothing is being openly announced, yet small pieces of information keep showing up in conversation. Pieces that feel like clues to a larger puzzle. Someone sees a trading system update. Someone else hears about a teller reviewing a manual. Another person notices a bank adjusting how it categorizes certain currency codes. These bits of information create a mosaic of activity. While none of these proofs confirm anything on their own, they raise enough questions to keep the conversation moving forward. People begin asking, why now? Why are there so many small details emerging at once? Why are they appearing across different regions? These questions do not have definitive answers, but they fuel the belief that something is forming beneath the surface. Something that has not reached the spotlight yet, but may be moving into place slowly and quietly. It is absolutely critical to address the speculation about revaluation directly. It is important to understand that revaluation rumors have circulated for years without becoming reality. And nothing in 2025 constitutes a confirmed official announcement of an upcoming revaluation for the IQD or VND. However, what has changed this year is the nature and tone of the conversation. Investors aren't claiming that announcements are happening today. They are pointing out that the operational signals feel different than in previous years. They argue that system updates are more widespread, that international conversations are more synchronized, and that market discussions are more active. Whether any of this means real value changes are coming is impossible to know. But the speculation itself is shaping the conversation. And that is why so many people are watching these currencies more closely in 2025 than they have in a long time. The focus has shifted from when will it happen to what are the banks doing right now. Moving on to practicalities, one of the most useful topics circulating is documentation. Investors who have been around for a while are encouraging newer holders to get organized now, regardless of the news cycle. They suggest confirming which banks accept these currencies, understanding the identification requirements, and learning how verification works. They remind people that being unprepared can cause unnecessary delays or confusion, whether exchanging a small amount or a larger amount. This kind of preparation does not rely on predictions or guru intel. It simply reflects smart financial behavior. Because the IQD and VND speculation cycle is back in motion this year, more people are focusing on getting themselves organized. It is one of the few parts of this conversation that remains consistent and actionable no matter what happens next in the global markets. As people continue analyzing these silent signals, one theme keeps resurfacing: patience. Many investors remind each other that speculative markets move slowly and that most major currency reforms, when they do happen, take time, planning, and coordination. They encourage people not to rush to conclusions but to stay aware, stay informed, and stay grounded. This balanced approach helps prevent disappointment when rumors fade and helps people stay ready if anything unexpected actually occurs. In 2025, patience is being emphasized more than ever because the signals people are noticing are subtle. They are not loud, they are not official, but they are intriguing enough to keep people alert and curious. The combination of increased investor chatter, small system updates, new global partnerships, and digital banking expansion has created a perfect environment for speculation to grow, and navigating that requires a steady hand. As we move toward the close of this breakdown, it is clear that 2025 has become a fascinating year for anyone watching the IQD and VND. The conversations happening right now may not lead to sudden changes, but they are reigniting global curiosity. Investors who stepped back years ago are stepping back in. People who ignored these currencies are researching them again. And communities that were once quiet are now buzzing with fresh discussions. The key message to take away is simple: stay informed, stay organized, stay realistic, and stay prepared. Speculation does not guarantee outcomes, but awareness helps you navigate opportunities wisely. If you hold IQD or VND, keep your notes in good condition and your documentation ready. Understand how your bank handles foreign currency. Track conversations not to rely on rumors, but to stay aware of market sentiment. And remember that silent signals are not confirmations. They are reminders to stay alert in a world where financial systems are constantly evolving.